Garage 11, and here we are back again. We've got another episode of the Boydie YZ125. It's going to be super cool. We've been working sort of really hard to try and bring you some more content on this one. It hasn't been easy. It has been, you know, we're blending this in amongst other workshop jobs that we've got, which is always a challenge. But as you can see, we are going to try and bring you as much content. We're stepping up our content game as much as we can. Remember, it's generally just myself editing, producing, doing all this sort of stuff. Sometimes Marshall from Vision Concepts is helping us out. However, we are pumping out as much as we can. So today, we're going to be looking at doing the linkages. As you can see, they are over there on the bench. We've pushed the bearings out of them. We're going to clean them up. We're actually going to try and do titanium pivot bolts for it, although the bike originally didn't have it. We've got access to the facilities to do that. We're going to start doing a little bit more titanium stuff, making stuff and all that fun, interesting stuff that I really enjoy, you know, manufacturing, machining, all that stuff, the carbon. We're doing a lot of little projects at the moment to try and step that up. So we're going to try and do everything titanium on this bike as we can. Swing arm, pivot, linkage bolts, axles, all that stuff. So it's going to be super cool. So stick around, guys. Watch as we go through. Like I said, we're going to push really hard into getting this linkage in today, cleaning them up. We're going to go through the hydroblasting process quickly because we all know what it's like. We've seen it a million times. Pushing the bearings in and fitting them off, and then putting the swing arm bearings in and all that sort of stuff. So stick around, guys. It should be fun. We're going to try and bring this, like I said, a little bit more regularly on this bike. So it should be good. Guys, as you can sort of see here, the linkage is quite a bit beat up. It's, you know, it's done a lot of work. It's, however, 2001, so 23 years old, which is, you know, seems like yesterday, but it's not. But what we're going to do, we're actually going to use our prime finishing wheel here, and we're going to sit there and we're going to buzz this back and try and get as much of this stuff out before we take it over to the hydroblaster. All right, guys, as you can see, we've cleaned up as much of these linkages as we can. I don't like to take too much material out of them because they're a very sensitive area. You know, like if they sort of let go, if there's too much material been taken away, then they can break and it gets all sorts of ugly. We've got our Procross bearings here, which the kits are absolutely amazing that Procross do. So we're gonna pull these bearing kits apart, we're gonna set everything up, and then we're going to start pushing all the bearings into these linkages. Now, the best thing to do with these is doing them, it's a matter of using heat, because heat will obviously make the aluminium expand, therefore allowing the press fit tolerance of the bearing to just become a little bit easier to put together. Otherwise, you can gall them, you can pick them up if they're not square, and it can get quite ugly. So let's start getting this stuff together. Let's pull these things apart, and let's get into the press and start putting this stuff together. All right, guys, here we are. We're just at the press, and this can always be a little bit awkward. You need to sort of few hands. The idea here is to really just to get the bearing in and started square. If it's not square, stop, start again, realign it. That's why we use heat, because heat will always open up the aluminium and allow even the start of the bearing to just sort of slide into this space. Then that allows you to start actually pressing the bearing in. I don't like hammering bearings in. I don't like using vices. I'm very much it's got to be a press because it's controlled. You've got the right amount of energy going into it. We use sockets, which is probably a bit of a no-no because chrome can shatter and explode if it's under too much pressure, but I don't think the pressures here are going to be that bad. We are looking at getting some proper bits machined how we want them so that they sort of work a little bit better with pressing bearings in, but there's nothing wrong with using sockets. They are the right size. They can generally fit to pressing in and out bearings. So yeah, with the linkage, always be careful. Sometimes linkage bearings, when you're pressing them out, have to be pulled out and then pressed in. That's just one thing that we do see. But as you can see here, we're just offering all the bearings in and getting them all flush. And then obviously the bearings have a sealing surface to them, or not a sealing surface, a seal in general. So what you need to do is you need to just push the bearing just that little bit further through, and that will make enough space so you can pop the seal in, and then you'll obviously get your crush tube will go in with that. Now, swing arms can be a little bit trickier. As you can see, we're using an extension on that one that pushes the one bearing in from the inside, flip it over and do the other side. And here we go, we're just installing the bearings on this one, and that is pretty much going to be it for getting the bearings in these pieces. As you can see, we've put all the bearings into the linkages, we've put the swing arm bearings in, and now what we're going to do, we haven't cleaned up the bolts because, as we said, we're going to be remaking them out of titanium, which is going to be super cool for this particular bike. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to offer everything up, slide the bolts in to get it into position, and that way, once we start going to manufacturing this stuff, we can pull them out piece by piece, draw them up, and then go from there. So what we're going to do is we're going to just offer it all up, and then that will complete our process of getting these linkages cleaned up, bearings in, and ready to go. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. Check out our social media, Facebook and Instagram. We've got a lot of stuff going on at the moment, a lot of cool stuff. Like I said, follow along with this build, a lot of other builds. We've got the Osmoto Group giveaway bikes that we're doing at the moment, which is super cool. So don't forget to check it out, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next episode.